If you have a learner who's constantly blurting out during your morning meeting, for example, maybe you're going to greet that learner to your circle with some positive reinforcement or pre-correction, whatever you want to call it. Hey, you, I love how you're ready to share today. You're going to raise your hand and do a great job.
Welcome to the Misfit Behaviorists podcast. Join your hosts, Audra Jensen and Caitlin Beltran, here to bring you evidence-based strategies with a student-centered focus. Let's get started.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Misfit Behaviorists. Today we are talking about, well, you've heard about catch them being good, but I kind of want to flip it into three little words, catch them first. So basically, why wait for the behavior to start? We don't want to fall behind. Let's get ahead of it. So I'm going to offer 3 tips on how to do this. So I'm going to jump right in. Tip number 1 is you want to prime your student. So too often we are waiting until misbehavior shows up to respond. I know we talked about this last week with de-escalation, and obviously we can't catch everything. We're going to have episodes of escalation and behaviors and things like that. But if we can catch students before it happens, we can set that stage for success. So an example being, if you have a learner who is constantly blurting out during your morning meeting, for example, maybe you're going to greet that learner to your circle with some positive reinforcement or pre-correction, whatever you want to call it. Hey, you, I love how you're ready to share today. You're going to raise your hand and do a great job. Audra, do you have anything similar, like a time you've caught a student being good even before the behavior started?
Well, I was just thinking about how much we've been talking about this lately and how important that catching things before, that prevention, the pre-correction, all that stuff is so important because none of us like that feeling in a situation where like we've missed the opportunity to do that. And now we have to deal with the aftermath. And it's like, that's right. I was like, oh crap, not again. Those are learning experiences though, when you find yourself in that crisis moment. That's why it's so important to debrief afterwards with any staff who is involved in that. So how can we fix that so that we can go back to what you're talking about, that prevention, that catch it first? Anything you can do beforehand is just vital because nobody likes going home at the end of the day all sweaty. And I mean, I get all like drenched and nasty after one of those episodes. And I'm like, okay, what did I do wrong in that situation? How could I have helped prevent that situation from happening? I think that's really important to think about.
My colleague and I always used to say, and we both knew, we didn't know we were each doing this for years before we mentioned it one day. When you go home on your drive home, and she was like, it's one of those days where I didn't turn the radio on, I didn't put a song on, it was just silent the entire drive. And I was like, oh my God, you do that.
And just like the students, they get overstimulated. So when we're in those situations just like that, we're overstimulated. We've gone past that moment of calm, and now we have to reel it back in and kind of recapture our own situation.
Exactly. So leading into tip number 2, and that's just using genuine, specific praise. Really, the key to me is being specific. These learners need to know exactly what behavior you're reinforcing because chances are these learners, they're doing many things great and they're doing many things not so great each day. So we want to be really specific and intentional with our praise. And so if we're just throwing out these kind of like, hey, you, great job, nice to see you. That's great, but we're not really doing it, right?
I was thinking, so like your husband's done the dishes, right? And you walk in and you're just like, good job. No, but if you go and say, oh my gosh, thank you so much for doing the dishes. That meant so much to me. It's like, it's such a difference. Like, good job.
So different, so different. So again, just silly little examples. Like you have that learner who every time they have to fill out their worksheet, it's like, oh, where's my pencil? I dropped it. I can't find it. It's like, hey, well, thanks for having your pencil ready. Look at you, instead of just nice job. Here we go. Good job. I don't know. Do you think this is something we overthink, or do you think it really is intentional with really noticing those exact right moments?
I like that you're putting this in the kind of the pre-correction stuff, that we can make that praise in the preventative stage and not just the after stage. It's like, I saw that you were getting all your stuff together perfectly today, front loading those compliments and that reinforcement even before situations happen. You're reinforcing the behavior that prevents the crisis after.
I feel like I use this with my own son a lot when, if I'm like, all right, let's go. And he starts getting ready as opposed to the ninth time asking, I'm like, let me just take a minute and tell you how mature you're acting this summer. I can see a major difference these last few months. And like the dishes example, just, oh, this is different and new. Like I'm taking this seriously because I'm being so intentional with it. So that's the hope anyway. That's the goal. And so tip number 3 is just that timing is everything. We know the research speaks for itself. Those frequent genuine reinforcement predicts the positive outcomes, but that timing really does matter. We want to catch them first or as early as possible. And that's what flips the trajectory. The longer we wait, the less it's going to connect. We use any of the examples we've done so far, the dishes. 2 weeks later, like, oh, I think you did the dishes last week and I forgot to tell you. Like, what? Like, no one's paying attention. We've moved on. So just that really quick, intentional word of encouragement, reinforcement before that behavior derails can really change your next 20 minutes, your next work session, your next morning session.
I think there's something to be said too, like that gentle touch, just walking by a student and just a tap on the shoulder or something that makes that connection. And that happens before behaviors. Like you see somebody doing something that is normally hard for them, give them a little tap on the shoulder. It doesn't always have to be verbal. It can just be, a soft, gentle hug.
I love that you pointed out that specific example too, because thinking of a learner who always had a hard time at lunch and he always wanted to like, and I'm getting ice cream, right? And like he never had money. So it was always like a big to do. So sometimes if he didn't have a problem at lunch, everyone would sort of go, it's fine. Everything's good. Everything's good. And we would be like afraid to rock the boat and say anything. But like, really, it's so important to acknowledge that moment, even if it was just a little, hey, what a great lunch today. You're coming so far or something like that. So make sure we're not holding our breath and crossing our fingers and waiting for it to be over. We really do want to acknowledge those little moments, which are big moments for our guys. So I guess the challenge being just thinking about before that misbehavior even starts, beat it to the punch. Yes, catch them being good, but also catch them first. Like, what can you catch first today? What can you catch first this week? So maybe try it this week. Pick one specific thing to be really intentional about and let us know what happens in your classroom. Hop into our Facebook group, the Misfit Behaviorists podcast. We'll start a discussion post on this, but feel free to share what you've shared and let us know. And otherwise, we'll be back with a new topic next week.
Thanks for listening to the Misfit Behaviorists. And be sure to tune in next week for more tips and tricks. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode.